amazing, beautiful people, and welcome back to another reaction video. So today we got another random one for all of you. I'm really enjoying these sort of videos as well, and you guys seem to be liking them too. And with my wife actually like learning Japanese and getting so involved in Japanese culture as well as we are too on this channel, it's like consumed my whole household. So it's a country and a culture I have become so curious about. And I really appreciate all of you firing so many recommendations of different videos you would like me to react to. And it really helps me as well learn a little bit about the country that I cannot wait to visit. So, and it's also, by the way, my #1 demographic, which I find really cool as well. More Japanese people watch this channel than any other country in the world. So if you're from Japan and you're watching this channel, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Anyway, we're going to check out this video today, which is the Unspoken Rules of Japan. What I wish I knew before coming. I'm excited to see this as well, and I feel like this is going to be some good information for everybody who goes to Japan. Simply speaking, if you go to any other country, you're going to see completely different cultural things, and it's good to know those things before you go. It's also good, I would say, to learn some phrases, because I think it's respectful. Whenever I go to any country, I always try to learn some phrases as well, and I'm going to make sure I do the same when I go to Japan. My wife has been studying Japanese for like 8 months now, so hopefully when we go over there, she's going to be pretty clued up in terms of the language. That'd be really cool. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Please put your recommendations down below. What other reactions like this would you like to see on this channel? Are there any other videos you think would be really cool to react to? They don't have to be Japanese related, they can be anything. Just random reactions like this. Put your recommendations down below. Enough of my talking, and let's jump into my first time. In fact, don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way. Press that subscribe button. And let's jump into my first time ever reaction to Unspoken Rules of Japan. What I wish I knew before coming.
Is a unique country with a distinct culture, climate, and a rich tapestry of unwritten rules and traditions. And while many of these will be foreign to travelers visiting for a short time, there are some clues that you need to know so you don't get into a sticky situation while having the trip of a lifetime. After living in Japan for many years, here is what I wish that I knew before coming to Japan. Number 1, carry cash at all times. This felt very strange to me at first, coming from a country where I wouldn't feel comfortable carrying more than $100 for fear of losing it or getting mugged. I now feel uncomfortable.
Is this real? I was gonna say, I'm here in the UK. I don't think anyone carries cash anymore, like ever.
Comfortable carrying more than $100 for fear of losing it or getting mugged. I now feel uncomfortable going anywhere in Japan with less than 30,000 yen. In fact, most Japanese will carry 50 to 100,000 yen or 372 to 745 US dollars at any given time. Japan is a safe country, and while that doesn't mean you shouldn't be careful, carrying any less than 30 to 50,000 yen could result in you wasting your valuable travel time searching for an ATM, as many establishments will only accept cash. Japan is adopting more credit card and smart pay options, but outside of major cities, these are few and far between. And while talking about cash, that brings us to unspoken rule number 2. Don't hand money to people. Money is rarely passed.
I find that really interesting as well. Like, because actually when you think about it, cash used to be like I'd say when I was growing up, it was just cash. I never knew anyone who paid for anything with a card. So I guess it is still kind of a new thing, right? I mean, if you look at like a 20-year period, it's changed a lot.
Directly from hand to hand in Japan. When paying, you will often see a small tray, unless you are paying by an automated machine, so place your money on that tray and you should receive your change and receipt on the same tray. There will be some situations where this is not the case, however. If you cannot see this tray, then handing money to the cashier or putting it on the counter is fine. Also, I have noticed that in some more friendly regions of Japan, such as Kansai's Osaka, that cashiers will often hand you your change to you personally, provided you are a foreigner, or...
Wait. What's the thing? What's that thing? There's like the random like balls going around. What is that? That looks well fun.
Osaka, that cashiers will often hand you your change to you personally, provided you are a foreigner, or it is somewhere more convenient to do so, like in a taxi. And speaking of taxis, number 3, don't open or close doors when using taxis in Japan. In the past, Japan's taxis were smaller, and the drivers would open the door for passengers as a sign of respect. But as cars became larger and streets busier, a solution was needed for the rapidly developing country. In 1964, when Tokyo was hosting the Olympic Games, a solution was found: the automatic car door. It might feel strange for you to not close the door after you, but if you do so, then the door may not close correctly and the driver may be unsure if it's safe to proceed. To enjoy this feature and not inconvenience your driver, just don't open and close the doors. The only exception to this is the front seat, which might not always be automatic, because it's typical for Japanese to only sit in the back seat of a taxi unless traveling with a large party. However,
That's so cool. Why is that not a thing? Why is that not a thing everywhere? I don't understand. So Japan has had this technology where their taxis, their cars, have automatic closing doors. I don't understand why that isn't a thing. And they said that they implemented this years ago with the Olympic Games. That is such a good idea. Why doesn't everyone do that? It's so
also
random.
don't actually recommend that you use the taxis in Japan unless you have no other option. Taxi services in Japan is by far the most expensive form of travel. A trip from Narita Airport to Shinjuku, in the heart of Tokyo, will cost upwards of 28,500 yen or $212. And now you might see why my first tip was to carry cash on you at all times in Japan for just such an emergency. Trains and buses are a fraction of the price. And unfortunately, Japan...
What the? Wait.
Emergency. Trains and buses
What are those seats? Those are like coach seats on a train. They look so comfortable.
are a fraction
What the
of
frick
the
is
price.
that?
And unfortunately, Japan has no real form of ride sharing due to taxi lobbyists. Using Uber in Japan will just summon a normal taxi to your location with the normal price. Number 4. The language barrier. A common concern for any traveler is, will you be able to communicate and find your way while traveling in Japan? And fortunately, you don't really need to worry here. In an effort to increase international tourism, Japan has updated nearly every directional sign with both English and Japanese. Combined with modern apps for navigation and translation, it is quite possible to travel and even live in Japan without knowing the language. That said, there are a few phrases that are incredibly helpful and only take a few minutes to learn.
This is something that my dad actually got me into when I was younger, and I used to go on holidays with my dad and my brother. My dad would always make sure that we knew a few phrases when we go to any other countries, just your niceties, you know, your politeness. So just like your thank yous, your pleases, your hello, how are you, and my name is, like, just literally your basics. Just so you can, when you have like an interaction with someone, if you're buying something, you purchase something, you can say like hello, good morning, thank you very much, goodbye, like those sort of things. And it was always something we or like where you're from, so people know. You can say in their language, or like I don't speak the language very well, I'm from this country, stuff like that. And it's really easy to like learn those phrases. You can even get like a phrase book, and I feel like it's a really good sign of just respect for when you go to any other country. Because if people go to any other country, I feel like it's good to be respectful that you're in their country.
Sumimasen will be the most useful word you'll ever learn. You can use it to say sorry, excuse me, or get someone's attention. For example, if you are at a restaurant and want to order something, stick your hand up and say sumimasen to get the waiter's attention. This might feel a little awkward at first depending on your culture, but this is how the locals do it. Almost everyone will have heard the phrase arigato, which means thank you, but you can make this more polite by saying arigato gozaimasu. Hi means yes in Japan, and while ie is taught as no, it can sound a little harsh. Instead, you can say daijoubu, which means it's okay, and can also be used for no instead, such as if someone handed you something, you could say daijoubu, means it's okay, I don't want it. A couple phrases that are useful are eigo wakarimasu ka? Do you speak English? Doko desu ka? Where is? For example, toire doko desu ka? Where is the toilet? Toire is one of Japan's many loan words, and that is a secret tip to communicating in Japan. If you find yourself in a tricky situation, you can attempt to elongate a word to see if it makes sense in Japanese. For example, credit card becomes...
I'm gonna rewind. I can't wait to go to Japan. I was gonna say, is that cosplay from Bunny Girl Senpai, or is that just a
word to see if it makes sense in Japanese? For example, credit card becomes credit card. Credit card wa daijoubu desu ka? Is credit card okay?
These are
Starbucks
really good
will
phrases.
become Starbucks. Starbucks doko desu ka? Where is the Starbucks? Number 5.
I don't need to know where the Starbucks is. All right, I ain't drinking that. I'm just saying, I would much rather have any other coffee shop than Starbucks.
When not to travel, Japan has 4 beautifully distinct seasons, each with unique experiences.
Was that Japan?
To travel, Japan has 4 beautifully distinct
That looks so much like San Francisco. Where is that? That's beautiful.
seasons,
Is that a
each
soccer?
with unique experiences for anyone's travels. But there are 2 times in the year that I just don't recommend visiting Japan, and that's Golden Week and the Obon season. Golden Week happens in spring from April 29th to May 5th and is made up of 4 national holidays: Showa Day, Constitution Day, Green Day, but not that one, and Children's Day. Depending on how these fall during the year, they can be anywhere from a couple days
What's Children's Day?
off to a full week, or even a 9-day vacation for workers taking 2 paid days off, making it the busiest time in the year for people getting away from work. Roads are crowded, trains are packed, and hotel prices skyrocket as the nation collectively lets off steam from the year. The summer festival Obon is a similar situation, although people will typically visit their relatives during this time. Its exact dates change every year with the lunar calendar, but it is roughly around mid-August. Summer is also my least recommended season. As much as I love the hot weather, temperatures routinely exceed over 36 degrees or around 97 degrees Fahrenheit with 100% humidity. This oppressive heat carries a real risk of heat stroke if you're carrying bags around or visiting many tourist destinations while traveling, and anyone that is not used to this type of climate should rethink travel during this time. This isn't the only inconvenience to traveling during Japan's national holidays, as depending on your location,
One thing I find curious is the mask situation in Japan. Does everyone wear it? So if I went to Japan, would I need to make sure that I'm constantly wearing a mask? Would people think I'm rude if I don't?
bank ATMs can even shut down during the holidays as well, because they need a vacation too apparently. My own bank actually does this, but it shouldn't be a problem at convenience stores. It's worth keeping in mind, however, and another reason why carrying cash with you in Japan is so important. With that all said, there are a couple benefits to traveling during Golden Week and the Obon season, as this is the time of year you can see carp streamers called Koi Nobori flying for Children's Day, or the beautiful summer lanterns honoring ancestors during Obon. Number 6, don't
the
forget
historical culture and respect in Japan is seriously like nowhere else I've seen in the world, and like the sort of like knowledges and acknowledgements to your past I find really quite like admirable.
a towel. Well, at least consider bringing a small towel or tissue. Many Japanese bathrooms across the country won't have paper towels to dry your hands because most Japanese people carry a small hand towel with them. Much has been written on the subject of towels, and they are about the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can have. You can even use them to reserve tables. Of course, you don't exclusively need a towel to take advantage of this unwritten rule, but any item you place on a table, be it a bag, phone, laptop, hat, or just about anything in your pocket, signals that the table has been taken. Personally, I wouldn't recommend leaving any valuables lying around like this, but every day people in Japan do this, confident that their property will be there when they return. Now, even if you don't take advantage of this rule, it's good to know, because
By the way, heads up, never ever do that in London. You come to England, don't do that. Okay? Maybe I should make a video of things to know before you come to England. Alright, things to know before you come here. Here's the top tip. If you're going to London, don't go to London. Alright? Don't go to London. This is my best advice to you. Okay? If you're thinking about coming here to England, don't stay in London. Stay outside of London. England has incredible public transport. You can travel into London very easily. The roads are very safe. We have some of the safest roads in the world as well, and it's super easy to navigate once you understand a roundabout. Meaning that if you wanted, you could drive. You can drive into London and park. We have fantastic parking. Or you can literally get a train into London and it'll take you anywhere you want. Or you can just get an Uber. From where I live, getting into central London, it's not that expensive. It's like Ubers are pretty cheap here in the UK as well. You could live like an hour and a half out of London, and it probably costs like 80 pounds to get from there into London, which I know sounds like a lot, but when you think you don't have to use public transport or anything like that, it's very good. So if you come into England, don't stay in London. It's very expensive, very crowded, very crazy. Stay outside of London. Okay, there's loads of really nice places you can stay. Just stay on something that's got a train service that will take you straight into London, and you're all golden. On top of that, London is very dodgy. It's true. It's true. I'd recommend don't take too much. You won't need it. If you're gonna take a backpack, make sure you've got like your backpack's locked up. Don't keep anything too valuable in your backpack. I'd say put all valuable things in your front pockets. Or if you've got zip pockets and they're on your front as well, make sure everything's on your front. That's the main thing. All right. London's not dangerous for people that if I'm freaking out anybody. This is just some little advice I want to give you guys. Pickpocketing happens. It's not a dangerous place as long as you stay to the main area. It's absolutely fine. So don't worry. I'm not trying to freak anyone out. I've been into London with my sons. They're both young. Blah blah blah. It's not dangerous. Not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, don't you couldn't do this in London.
Be there when they return. Now, even if you don't take advantage of this rule, it's good to know, because if you see a lone table with no one in sight, with a bag or a phone resting on it, you don't need to assume that it's lost property and try to return it to the shop or police station. Just leave it be. Etiquette in public. One thing you will notice in Japan compared to other
I do like a video, things to know before you come here to the UK. I kind of like the idea of that.
Countries is that it's very quiet. People won't talk loud on trains or even on the street, provided they aren't coming out of a bar. Japanese society is focused on not making a scene and avoiding confrontation, so be mindful of your surroundings, as people likely won't tell you if you're being a disturbance. For trains which get very busy, make sure that your backpack isn't hitting anyone. Japanese people will take off their backpacks or wear them on their front just to make sure that it's not interfering with anyone. You should also yield your seat for the elderly or the pregnant, but this is true in every country. For taking photos in public,
100%.
try not to focus on any one person in particular, and watch out for no photo signs that appear on private streets. When receiving an invitation in Japan, you should take it with a grain of salt. An offer to go somewhere like a barbecue or hiking next week is really about a 50% chance of being a real offer. If the offer isn't presented with doing it immediately, or an exact future date and time is provided, then it really isn't an invitation at all, just a nice thought that they had. Likewise, if you offer to do something in Japan with a local—
Where is that? The way that vehicle's moving, is that a train, a bus? What is that? That looks stunning. I want to go on wherever that is.
they say maybe, they really aren't interested in it at all. If they are, they'll either say yes or they'll ask when and where. But rarely, if ever, will they give a flat out no. Don't be offended by this, it's just a cultural thing.
So polite, I love it.
You'll definitely notice how clean Japanese streets are, but at the same time, and somewhat perplexingly, is the lack of trash cans on the street. The only place you ever really see trash cans is at train stations or places where food is sold, such as festivals or convenience stores. And this leads to why people say it's rude to eat and walk while in Japan. Eating while walking means that you'll drop things like crumbs or wrappers as you walk, or be forced to keep your trash with you in your pockets or bag. This is why you'll often see Japanese people eating outside of a convenience store and then run back inside to dispose of their trash before moving on. This doesn't always hold true, however, and it is common to see people eating and walking during street festivals, which are common throughout the year. If you see many of these stalls while exploring Japan, you won't need to worry, and there will be temporary trash cans out for the occasion, so you won't have to carry your trash too far. It's worth mentioning here that Japan isn't just fish and rice. Some people assume that Japanese people eat fish every day, and because of that, people who don't like fish are adverse to traveling in Japan. This really isn't—
You wouldn't go to a country because you don't like fish? That seems a bit random. A lot of, I mean, fair enough. If you're one of these people who hasn't gone to Japan because you don't like fish and you think you're not going to be able to, they only eat fish, you're absolutely insane if that's your reason.
every day, and because of that, people who don't like fish are adverse to traveling in Japan. This really isn't the case though. Of course, sushi is a popular and famous dish in Japan, but there are all kinds of food to suit almost every diet. Fried chicken, soups, noodles like ramens are among the most popular. It is, however,
KFC is
important to be
incredibly
aware of
popular
what you
in Japan
eat
as well.
if you have any allergies or are vegetarian or vegan in Japan. Japanese restaurants are not very flexible, and they usually won't substitute items on the menu or make alterations if they contain an allergen. In most cases, they will recommend you to try eating something else, and waiters will usually not understand exactly what is in the food being served, and list of allergens will not be displayed on small store menus. So be careful about this. Many Japanese also do not quite understand the concepts of vegetarianism or veganism as well, and will recommend fish if you tell them that you don't eat meat. Also, many sauces used in Japanese cooking contain animal products, which makes it very difficult to find vegan options in Japan. If this is a concern for you, then I recommend getting an app that shows restaurants that cater to your diet before coming to Japan.
Good idea.
This might be one of the most important tips. Before coming to Japan, it is imperative to check if your medication will be allowed. For most travelers, this won't be a concern provided you're only bringing less than 1 month's supply and you have a prescription on you. However, Japan is very, very strict when it comes to over-the-counter painkillers that might be fine in your country, and certain medications are outright banned. You can check online for a list of these before you depart, but under no circumstances bring any recreational drugs into Japan. The penalties for doing so are incredibly steep, to the extent that hard drugs can land you in jail for upwards of 3 weeks without allowing you contact to the outside world. Don't mess around here.
That's not that steep. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? 3 weeks in jail for hard drugs? That doesn't sound too bad. This isn't me saying do it, But this is me saying, I swear it's harsher here. Fair enough.
Tourists must carry passports with them at all times in Japan. You might be worried about losing
yeah?
it, but if you are stopped by a policeman while in Japan, you are required by law to show them your passport. And while I've never actually seen this happen before,
I actually, when I go on holiday, always bring like painkillers, like headache tablets and stuff like that. So that's really good to know. And this is very good to know as well.
Required by law to show them your passport.
This
And
video
while
has
I've
been
never
so
actually
helpful.
seen this happen before, it's better to be safe than sorry. And on a positive note, you can actually take advantage of tax-free shopping outside of the airport at certain stores, which will give you a flat 10% discount when presenting your passport. A simple saving that you should not deprive yourself of when traveling in Japan. Make sure you remove your shoes when appropriate. Japanese people usually do not wear shoes inside, and having comfortable, easy to remove shoes is important so you can quickly slip on and off your shoes without slowing down people behind you. So don't wear any complicated laces. It's very easy to tell which places require you to remove your shoes because they will often be marked with a step, and there will be slippers for guests. When in doubt, just look at what the other people around you are doing. And there will also be a sign or a shoebox to show you the way. Don't worry. You don't need to take off your shoes when you go to McDonald's or anything. Last tip is...
What about shoe sizes? Because there was just a big bin of like shoes. What about shoe sizes? How would you know which ones fit you?
Simply do not tip. Japan is not a tipping culture, and it's seen as rude. I know some people will think that it might be nice to leave a tip even though it's not the culture, but leaving a tip at the restaurant will actually cause them stress as they will seek to return your money. The only situation you will ever tip in Japan is if you see a tip jar, and then it's purely optional. Ultimately, you don't need to be too worried when coming to Japan. People here are very considerate and understand that you are from a different culture. Everybody makes mistakes when traveling, and it's really part of the experience. But if you do your best to be considerate and polite to others, they'll notice, and any of the small mistakes that you make won't matter that much at all. If you found this helpful, then leave me a like, comment with...
Huge shout out to this guy. I feel like this video was incredibly helpful. Did like a lot, and at the end with that sort of like reinsurance as well, for anyone who would have been like anxious based on the video as well. Huge shout out to this guy. His name is what is it? Inaka Adventure. Huge shout out. Go check out the video, link in the description. That was super freaking informative and helpful. Actually really was as well. A lot of information there I didn't know. That I feel like is going to be very beneficial to someone who's visiting Japan for the first time, which I 100% plan on doing. One of my main sponsors is Tokyo Treat and Sakurako, and I would really love to go see their factories eventually. I think that'd be really cool. Like I said, my main demographic is Japan in terms of my YouTube audience, so again, I would love to do that as well. Go see some people who watch my videos out there. It looks like such a beautiful country. It's been top of my list of places to visit for so long. I really want to see Baby Metal in Japan. I want to see 1OK Rock live out there. Ado would be fantastic. I want to see like live artists in Japan too. I can't wait to go. I'm very excited to go, and I cannot wait to go. I'll make sure I learn as much of the language as I can when I go out there as well. Yeah. The only reason I haven't gone yet, by the way, for anyone wondering, because I've had a couple of instances where I could have gone, is my wife really wants to go to Japan too. So I feel like it would be unfair if I went on my own without her for the first time, and we want to bring our sons, but they're too young to travel on a plane journey like that, so we don't want to leave them and leave them here while we go, you know, so can't really do it yet. Maybe next year, but I am really looking forward to going eventually. I feel like this was really helpful. Let me know as well, if you're Japanese, you're from Japan, you're living in Japan currently, how many things in this video are true? How much of it was real? Would you adapt or amend any things like this? Is there anything you feel like should have been in this video? Maybe you want to give some advice or tips or anything like that? Because honestly, I feel like stuff like this is very helpful for foreigners like myself who want to go visit a country. Because the thing is as well, Japan being a very respectful, kind and polite nation and culture, even this man here was saying, most people will understand that you're not from here, and if you're trying, they'll be nice and respectful too. But from my perspective, even if people understand, I still want to make sure I'm doing my best. So I feel like videos like this really help. But yeah. And back to my one advice. Put it this way, if you're coming here to the UK, if I didn't know what I know now, I would come to the UK. I'd stay at like a forest holidays resort. We've got lovely forests in the UK, and you can stay at these cabins. They're pretty cheap as well. You could book one for like 2 weeks for like 500 quid. You can stay at one of these cabins. They're beautiful. They've got like hot tubs in the middle of the forest, really nice. Very like well done. You'll have someone like clean it, luxury. You can like, they have kitchens, also. It's literally like a really lovely house. Stay at one of those. They're not too expensive. You can book that individually online. So stay at one of those. It'd be cheaper than any London hotel. You can stay at one of those for 2 weeks. That's what I'd say if you want to come here. Or even a week, or even a weekend. That's what you should do. Forest holidays. Book one of those. Rent a car. Super cheap out here as well. And then just drive. Just drive. The roads are really, like, I'd say the UK has some of the best roads I've seen in the world. I've driven in a couple of countries now and been to many, and I'd say the UK roads are super easy. Our road speeds are very low as well. Our national speed limit is 70 miles an hour, so it's not very high. So you don't need to worry about that either. Driving into London will be scary, so I would say try and avoid it. Getting a train would be easier, or simply get an Uber. Right? You could get a train to somewhere and then get an Uber somewhere else. So yeah, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend anyone stay in London. Just go visit London. I'd say that. And I would also say it probably is the best city in the UK to visit. You don't really need to see any other cities. They're all pretty crap. I'm gonna be honest. Other than some of the south coastal cities like Brighton and Portsmouth. Portsmouth's got a really good history too. Those two I'd recommend, Brighton, Portsmouth, and London. Other than that, don't really need to see it. There's a lot of really cool villages, but you guys aren't going to know about those, like Hastings, etc. But they're quite hard to get to. And then the other options would be Scotland. I'd say Scotland is really cool, but you probably want to do a separate holiday for that. Go to see Edinburgh and Glasgow. A lot of cultural history there. Beautiful country. And the people in Scotland are amazing. They're crazy. I love them. So yeah, my gran was Scottish, and she was the strongest woman I ever knew. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know more in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new. And as always, my friends, you will see me in the next video.